Good day, and welcome back to my channel. And I apologize for any background noise. The washer is washing, so we'll have a little bit of that going on. However, I'm at a point where I am getting close to almost done. Well, at least it's going to look that way. The main assembly parts have been completed. I now have Serenity mounted on the display box, which is really what I'm going into right now. And I'm going to talk about a couple of the things that I did and a couple of the challenges I ran into. And the challenges are me. It's my lack of awareness. So, yeah. So for every circuit that I tested, or for every circuit that I put on in Serenity, I tested it, each one. I tested each one by one using the 9-volt battery. Now a thought process I had was, not using a battery, but using an actual, transformer plug would be a good idea. And I did, right? So I wired one of these guys, right? Wired one of these guys into the harness so I could then plug this in. Now I used one of these variable transformers, and I'll get back to this in a second. So that way I could set the voltage at 9 and then do this. Now I'm sure that there's amperage and resist and stuff that I didn't do the math for and I didn't research it. So that's sort of on me to, before I do something like this next time, to figure out where I went wrong. But so what I have is I have 5 circuits. I have my interior lights, I have my running lights, I have my main engine, so the big tail cone, and then I have the outboard engines, because I wanted those to be separate. I thought about running those together, but I kind of wanted to be able to do one and the other. And then I have the rotating wheel. And this is where I run into a little bit of a challenge. Now I'm going to go ahead and slide back here a little bit and kind of see the box. What I did is I just used a Joann's Fabric Michaels craft store box, right? So that was what I did, and then I went ahead and I hooked up the switches. I really like these toggle switches, just kind of had that Serenity look. Picked up a power pot, or I have the potentiometer and then all the switches. So first issue I found out is when I run the circuit board that drives the rotating wheel against any other circuit, this draws all the power, none of these work. If this disconnects, then everything works. So there's a difference in draw between this and everything else. So if I'm going to do something like this again, I need to figure out either how to tap off the circuit board for constant power and switch that way, or run with separate power, which is what I'm choosing to do here. Now right now I just have the 9-volt hooked up to it. I'll probably just run another one of these into that same part of the harness and then run another transformer. I don't know, depends on my mood. But this is the box, right? So I did up the box all nice and pretty, but I wanted to show sort of the wiring. This was sort of a pain to run through. And it's like every time I fed the wire, so I was super paranoid, and so I'd end up just running the tests. So I bought these kind of as a unit, and then this is how ugly the inside of the box looks. I did make a point to go ahead and separate each of the lighting spots. So if I come back this way, and I gotta kind of be careful because Serenity is up. Actually, so I'm gonna move the stand. Hold on. Bring this up and pan up just a touch. So as it comes out through the stand, each one is sort of tied together, and then I've labeled them so that now if I do have to get back in here to mess with the wires, I can figure out which one's which. So I'm not entirely lacking in imagination. I will probably unscrew this one and run it underneath so that I can then separate these wires out. So one thing I didn't do, right? This sort of spaghetti's a little bit because these two come up high over top of everything else. So that's just a cleaning thing. So now I'm going to go ahead and close up this box and show you guys what the box looks like, and then we'll talk about next steps. So hold on a moment. Okay, so this is the box as it is. Again, when I found out that I couldn't run my rotor or my spinning disc off of this, I actually had to put up another one of these. Didn't have another plate for this, so I just made another cover here. Eventually I will go ahead and I'll just screw these down once I'm ready to seal everything up, so I don't have the thing flipping open. And as so I just took a little box, I stained it, ran that, and I have this running out the bottom. Now there's a hole big enough that I can actually run this up in if I wanted to, but I wanted to actually make it so I could plug it and unplug it without having to open the box. So all I did is I put the little feet on it, and then I took one of those flanges for copper pipe, attached it to the roof of the box, and there I go. Now I may just oil this up a little bit more. I did reinforce that, and you could see that on the when I had the top open, I did reinforce this a bit with another layer of basswood just because. So now I'm going to pan up and we'll go to Serenity and we'll talk about what's left. All right. So we now have what's left. I do have some, there's a lot of detail work left to do. So let's start with the conversation on the shuttles. Where's my glasses? There we go. So obviously the shuttle is not in its shuttle bay right now. And this is one of the shuttles as it comes. Now you'll see this one has a broken wing, so this has got to be the one on the other side because I didn't feel like making another one, didn't feel it was necessary. Now this just has its base color, and I've dirtied it down just a little. I want it to be, really? So I wanted it to be a little bit different from the main Serenity color, but I'm going to have to make this much more dark and offset, because of the similarities in the colors we have. So I'm gonna go back, give it more of a bronzeous coat, ard coat the windows, detail up the spaces. Now I do have the landing or the retract harness, right? So this is what the retract harness looks like when it's fully extended. So it would go in to these spots here and stick out. Now I might do that with the other one, which sort of defeats the purpose of avoiding doing fixing the wing, but but because of the way this is set and the way the model's done, in order to get this to fit in, you actually have to grind away the bottom part of the shuttle, and then you have to trip those down because otherwise it just won't fit. And then I just take that in, position it correctly, glue it in spot, and that's where it'll go. So it tucks in, and there we go, right? But because if you look at it, the color is far too similar. I have a lot of work on that to detail up to take it to the same, or to a different color look. Obviously the petals on the tail need to go on, so they'll go on like that and like that, right? And then I have all of the solar panels ready to go. Now this one that goes over here, and so these will all place on the spots where they need to go. So those things need to be done as well. Those are detail parts. I did finish putting the antenna back, and really those were, where is it? Here it is. Those were these. Those were this, just wire. So cut to length, trimmed in, and put in. Now, there's also something interesting, and this is, you can see it on the bottom of this, and I'm going to flip this for a second. There are handholds all over the place. So you see over here, if we look at our instructions, and I would have missed it if I hadn't looked, but there are instructions to put handholds in, right? So there's handholds here, and there should be holes here for them. There are handholds around the doors. So you see these doors here? There's handholds in front of each of those doors. So this door here, or this illustrates that. So there's those two, and that's these holes here, right? That's what those are. And again, I made it using this wire. And if you look at the bottom of this, I'm going to flip this up. Let me get to where I can do this. I did that. Come on. There. I'll zoom in. Right there. You can see them here. So those handholds are done underneath there. I will never see those again, but it was a good place to test what I was doing. So that is, you know, it's detail like that that have yet to be done. But I do have this looking close, right? I mean, I'm content. I'll go ahead and do a quick test of the lighting. I'll throw this in. Well, actually, I'll just do the one of the interior lights, because the rest of it I'll show when I do the demo. But there's my interior lights, and we get a look down in for Mal, and Wash is in there. And then we had Jane sitting in the back. So over there was a little orange hat. So I'm actually kind of happy with the way that came out. I see one of my antenna come off, which is up here, so I'll have to fix that. But yeah, that's, and if you look over the shoulder, we have the other glow from the other interior light. And this is the other thing I'm finding, is there's a little bit of glow through there that I need to touch up. There's also some there, and it's just because of the way the paint does. So I got to go up and underneath there and paint that, which I can, and I'll just light block it. I was having a whole lot of light leak right here, and this was just, I'd already fixed that. So anyway, and then, you know, cool thing, cool little switch, just flip it off. Oh yeah, yay. Anyway, that is where we are. I expect that, you know, the next time we get to this, I expect that the next time I get to this, I will be at, you know, we're at final reveal stage. But I learned a lot, right? I learned a whole lot to this. So again, I apologize for the noise in the background. There's, you know, the whole washer thing, and you know, I really need to get this done before I get into the next steps, which are next. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this was informative. Those of you who understand electronics and wiring these things, if you want to point me to resources that would tell me how to do that correctly and figure it out, I will happily, you know, go do the research. I kind of got lost. It was sort of, you know, Google overload. You know, there's so much information out there. It was hard for me to wade through the specifics of what it was I was missing. But anybody who's reading this and wants to point to that, feel free. But in the meantime, I will say thank you very much for watching, and happy modeling, everybody.